this realm is, as always, delivering a marvelous mixture of chaos and troubles, and personal and societal and global. And that is the nature of this realm. And we, through our karma, have found ourselves here at this time and have this incredible, precious opportunity to practice. And before we say our refuge prayer, because they're mentioned in refuge, what do we practice? Well, I was reviewing Geshe Nima's notes, and he basically summarized it in what we reference every time we say refuge, which is the 6 perfections. So, in review, the 6 perfections that we're about to mention are generosity. That's giving what you can. Ethics, which sums up to non-harming. Patience, which sums up to refraining from emotional reaction. Patience. Enthusiastic effort is maintaining your confidence that this path will, in time, have its desired outcome. Concentration is our ability to stay focused, which is an essential mental quality to make progress on this path. And wisdom references the view of how things truly exist, which Christopher has been discussing with this Nagarjuna, which we sometimes refer to as emptiness, understanding the dependent arising nature of all phenomena. So when we are triggered by the events in our personal and global and societal environment, which through our own karma has caused us to be here at this time, we are told as practitioners to apply these 6 perfections immediately upon being almost as you can feel that the trigger is coming. So again, it's generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. And of all those, each of us have our strengths and our less than strengths, but it's up to each of us to remember that this is the advice. We're in the gymnasium of enlightenment here in this realm, practicing right now for this time. This is how we become enlightened, by pushing against our tendency to not practice patience, etc. So with that in mind, visualize in front of yourself whatever refuge visualization you have been utilizing. So at the very least, it would involve the Buddha and your personal guru, or whoever you think of as your teacher. And feel the strong bond between you and that individual who has committed to enlightenment, has committed to practicing the 6 perfections just like you, and in effect is sitting on your shoulder each and every moment of each and every day, encouraging you to stop and practice as they do. So there in front of you and surrounding you are all the sentient beings in every form of existence, with all the myriad forms of afflictions that we know too well are potential for consciousnesses in samsara. And here you are, having committed yourself to a path to be the one, to be one of the ones that step forward and say, I will practice and I will use this to purify my tendencies to do just the things that I'm horrified by. We'll sing it in Tibetan today. Sangye chodong sokri chognam la jamshu bardu dami gyatsu chi taki chinso ki pe sonam ki Drola Penchir Sangye Druparsho. You know, I forgot to mention, we'll do that 2 more times as usual, but I forgot to mention from the Buddhas and the gurus in front of you, visualize from their heart golden nectar that comes into the crown of your head and fills you with the positive potential to accomplish these 6 perfections. So they're filling you full of this potential. Sangye Chodan Soki Choknam La Chokyu Bardu Dagni Kyapsuchi Dagi Chinyan Yipe Sonam Ki Trola Penshir Sangye Druparasho Sangye Chodon Soki Choknam La Chamchu Badu Dagni Yapsuchi Dagi Jinyan Gipe Sonam Ki Drola Penshir Sangye Drupasho. And then I'd like to read for you this one particular version of the 4 measurables. It's a little bit different, but I think it's very apt in terms of what we are meant to do. May all sentient beings, having become devoid of attachment and aversion, of holding some as close and others as distant, may they attain superior bliss. Having become free from the ocean of suffering so difficult to bear, may they never become separate from the bliss of excellent liberation. So this is talking about the necessary steps on the path. It's one thing to wish all sentient beings be happy, and it's another to support sentient beings in the process of abandoning attachment and aversion and abandoning wrong views. And that's why we come to this class, so that Christopher can do what he's about to do.
Off to we go. Okay, thank you. That was good. I like adding those thoughts to those 4 measurables. Really makes it make sense. It's not just a wish.
Yeah.
But there's a pathway to achieve the goal of that. Yeah. Which is what we're basically talking about with these sessions by Nagarjuna. Today, we're continuing. This is the final part of the chapter that talks about merit and wisdom, the 2 collections, and it's about the joy of these 2 collections and how merit and wisdom transform our lives. So we're going to start with Nagarjuna starts talking about the benefits that we receive by practicing Dharma every day. And he starts with saying there are 5 common qualities, we're into the numbers again, and 25 special qualities that arise when we sincerely cultivate merit and wisdom. So remember, merit is all of the, I like love in action. Love and compassion in action. That you could say that's merit. They call that the method aspect of the path. And the wisdom is the understanding of how things truly exist, the nature of reality, and how those 2 work together, the method and the wisdom, how they support and work with one another to take us all the way to freedom, really, liberation from suffering, and this immeasurable joy of attaining enlightenment for the benefit and happiness of all beings. So there are I talked about that. There we go. Yeah, I'll go over this. The collection of merit is created through exactly what Kavita was just talking about. Generosity, ethical conduct, love, compassion, and beneficial actions. That's what merit is. And the collection of wisdom is developed through study and reflection, meditation, and realizing the empty, interdependent dependently co-arising, non-dual nature of everything that exists. It's a mouthful, really. So these two collections, they say they're like two wings of the bird. You cannot fly all the way to enlightenment if you don't have these two collections going. And they have to be functioning. Otherwise, the spiritual path is going to be off kilter. So when we understand the benefits of these practices, we will be naturally inspired to engage with this path. Instead of practicing Dharma out of some sense of duty or drudgery or I'm supposed to, we can develop what these call this enthusiastic effort, an enthusiasm about the path, knowing where we're headed. And a lot of us, I think, who've been doing this for a long time, can see the change, the gradual change that has occurred in our lives and the difference it's made in the way we think and in the state of our mind. Yeah, certain things come in much more into focus. All the problems come much more into focus, but also so do the solutions. It becomes clearer what the problem is and what the solution is, and that's huge. That's really huge. That's a huge help. So here are these 5 common qualities of Dharma practice, and we'll start with verse 277. This is the original verse. Through these practices, your realm will be happy. A broad canopy of fame will rise in all directions, and your officials will respect you fully. Remember, he's talking to a king in these verses. Here's a modern rendering of that. When your actions are grounded in wisdom and compassion, the environment around you naturally becomes more harmonious. When your actions are grounded in wisdom and compassion, the environment around you naturally becomes more harmonious. People trust you, respect grows, and your influence spreads, not through force, but through integrity. That's how influence actually spreads. Huh. We know how the other way works. It doesn't work that great. So how Dharma creates a healthy world. Nagarjuna begins by describing the first 3 common benefits. Remember, there are 5. He's going to talk about the first 3 of practicing the Dharma. So even though he's speaking to a king here, these teachings apply to us as well. And they apply just as much to our families and our workplace and the community that we live in, and social networks. It all applies. So quality 1 is a happier society. A happier society. When leaders and citizens alike live ethically, the entire environment becomes healthier. Fewer people act out of greed or anger or jealousy. Corruption decreases and cooperation increases. These are the benefits. Wouldn't we love to see that? You can see this even in small things. So imagine, the example here is imagine 2 workplaces. One where people compete and they gossip and they talk about each other behind their backs and they undermine each other. And I think most of us have probably experienced that, experienced what it is, what the workplace can be. And imagine another workplace environment where people practice honesty, kindness, and responsibility. Imagine the shift that would make, in the environment that we live in. The second environment naturally becomes more supportive, and it naturally becomes more productive. I've just been privy to what goes on in the workplace, and I've seen that it's not only is it backbiting and terrible and mean and nasty, but it's non-productive. Everything just goes around in circles, blah, 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 and the same old stuff happens. All right, so from a Buddhist perspective, this doesn't happen by coincidence. It's karma unfolding collectively. This is collective karma. And so our responsibility is to shift and change our karma, our actions. What are we putting into this? What are we contributing? We're either contributing to something that's beneficial and harmonious, or we're contributing to something else that's not. So we have to think about that carefully for ourselves. And this has to do not only with workplace, but our families, our friends, online, social media, everything we post, everything we read, it has an effect. It has an effect on us. So we need to be very mindful of all of that. So when people act with compassion and they act with ethical discipline, the conditions for suffering decrease and the conditions for flourishing increase. So if we don't want to suffer and we want to flourish, we know what we're supposed to do here. Here's quality 2. Good reputation arises naturally. In other words, you don't have to fight to get it. It arises naturally. So if we listen and we reflect and we meditate, we deepen our understanding of reality. And through that, we develop wisdom, an understanding of what's going on. We develop wisdom. When we understand what reality is, we develop wisdom. And over time, this will show up in the way we speak, in the way we act, and the way we think. So that affects the decisions we make, and it affects all of our relationships, all of them. The very close personal ones, the ones in the family, the ones in the community, the ones online. It affects all of them. As a result, people will begin to trust us. They'll see a kind of consistency there. Respect will spread naturally, not because we're seeking attention, but because our actions consistently are benefiting others. If we go by these guidelines, the Buddhist guidelines, our actions are going to consistently be benefiting others, not harming. We're not going to be creating conflict. In modern terms, this is like saying authentic character becomes your reputation. You have a reputation due to your authentic character, not some facade or created one. How many times we'll create a persona. We see this a lot. And it's just not authentic. We all know that at this point. I mean,
Enough said.
enough said. All right. So, and the effects continue into future lives as well, these effects. Here's quality 3. So that was quality 2. We don't, our good reputation arises naturally. Here's quality 3. Good people will gather around you. Healthy minds attract healthy minds. So and healthy minds really don't attract unhealthy minds. That's not what unhealthy minds are interested in. So healthy minds attract healthy minds. When we sincerely practice compassion and wisdom, we naturally attract people who value those qualities as well. It's obvious. If somebody doesn't value compassion and wisdom, they're not going to care. They're not going to, I would say, if you will, just look to the past and look at all of the Dharma classes you've been to and the teachings you've been to, and it's rare on a regular basis to see more than 12 or so people, because it's so not what the world is saying is important. And yet it is everything the world needs. It's everything the world needs. It's really crazy. Nagarjuna says that a king practicing Dharma attracts excellent ministers. So in our lives, this could look like we'll have supportive friends on the spiritual path, which, we do. We have supportive friends on the spiritual path. We'll have inspiring teachers, which we do. We have, Geshe Nama, Geshe Nima, Geshe Drakpa, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Yeshe, Venerable Verbena. These are inspiring teachers. We've got them. We have them. And then we will have a community of friends that will encourage our growth, will encourage our spiritual growth, will support that. And that's really important too. So in this way, our personal practice becomes a magnet for goodness in our lives. Our personal practice becomes a magnet for goodness. Okay. All right, here are the next verses. The causes of death are many. Those of staying alive are few. These too can become causes of death. the causes for staying alive can become the causes for death. Therefore, always perform the practices, the Dharma practices. Here's the next verse. If you always perform thus the practices, the mental happiness which arises in the world and in yourself is most favorable. The next verse. Through the practices, you will sleep happily and you will awaken happily, because your inner nature will be without defect. Even your dreams will be happy. So here's a modern rendering, and this is so true. Life is fragile and it's uncertain. Many things can end it completely unexpectedly. We've seen this just in the past year. We've seen within our own group, we've seen cases of this happening completely unexpectedly. So knowing this, don't postpone what truly matters. Practice goodness now. When you live this way, your mind becomes lighter and more peaceful. Happiness grows both within you and around you. You sleep with clear conscience and you wake with a joyful heart. And it's nice that we could do that. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we don't. So just if we're not waking with a joyful heart, it sort of shows us where we're at, right? Even your dreams become peaceful because your mind is free from regret. So this is about living with urgency and joy at the same time. Urgency is because, as we've seen, death can occur so fast, so unexpectedly, and it's boom, it's a shock. So that's the urgency. We know that happens. It happens all the time. Then we also have to combine this joy of the practice and combine these two and live with that, sort of manage that. So these verses are describing the fourth and the fifth common qualities that Nagarjuna was after. So the fourth quality is practicing while we have the chance. Human life, it's incredibly precious, but it's also incredibly uncertain. We work hard to protect our bodies, we work hard to extend our lives, yet countless things can suddenly end them. Even things meant to protect us, such as cars and houses and technology, can sometimes become the causes of harm. They can be the vehicles in which we die because of them. So Nagarjuna's point is not to create anxiety. Instead, it's to inspire clarity and urgency. And this is something from the beginning, I remember Geshe Drapa way back, always talking about. Never lose this sense of how important it is to practice every day, practice every minute. Always have this going in your mind because you just don't know. So you want to be always prepared, always prepared. Don't put something off because you think it's more important to do something else first. Something worldly first. It's not logical. Make sure that you have the priorities in the right place. When we remember the fragility of life, then our petty conflicts lose importance. Kindness actually becomes easier for us. And spiritual practice becomes very, very meaningful. So if we remember, now this is the second one is, I think, important to think about. If we can remember this urgency, of life, how quickly it can fade, then kindness becomes easier. We don't put kindness off. We just say, be kind, no matter what, no matter who. See that we're all in this together, and we all are going to die. And so why spin our wheels in worrying about all of that when we can just right now make a difference? Right now make a difference. So the Buddha taught that the entire path can be summarized in three principal insights. They're the three principal aspects, actually. Renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom. Renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom. Renunciation is recognizing the unsatisfactory nature of cyclic existence. And I don't think it's that hard to recognize, especially these days. We can see it. And that is what we are renouncing. We're renouncing all the crap that's going on. It's like there was this famous show way back in the early 60s, and it was called Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. And that's kind of, kind of the way we can all feel sometimes. So that's not really a renunciation. Renunciation is stop all and everything that's causing this problem and work on the solution. But don't think that by continuing to generate the problems, that it's going to get any better. We know this. History's proven it. We don't learn from our history, so we just continue doing it. So the next one is bodhicitta. That was renunciation. The next one is bodhicitta, the compassionate wish to awaken for the benefit and happiness of all beings. That's the wish, that we ourselves get our act together so that we can help everyone else get their act together. And that's what they call the altruistic intention. And that is logical when we take on the next one, the next um, principal aspect, which is wisdom. Wisdom that realizes emptiness, the true nature of reality. Emptiness means empty of existing independently, which the flip side is everything is interconnected. Everything is interdependent, not just on a physical level, on a mental level, at the level of thought, at the level of projecting. Everything. So when we understand that, when we really get that, that makes the bodhicitta fly. Makes so much sense. It's so logical. It is the thing to do because everything is interdependent and interconnected. We will be happy when we can make everyone else happy.
Do you mind if I share something that came up in my meditation this week?
No.
I was reading the notes from Geshe Nima's teachings last year, and something popped out at me about how what we are, what you are, what I am, what humans, what beings are consciousnesses or minds that have put on a particular, due to their habits over countless lifetimes, put on a set of clothing that we call whatever our physical body is that we're using in that particular lifetime. So at our essence, we're a consciousness. Then when we talk about, okay, so then this is what he said. At that point, he said that the consciousness, its quality is clarity, and its function is awareness. So kind of let yourself think about, in essence, what are you? You are this mirror-like clarity that has the capacity for awareness. And when we talk about the mind of clear light, that's, sort of what we're talking about, is that we become consciously dialed into that fact. Okay, this is where now then this is relates what I'm about to say is relating to, so with that in mind, it occurred to me, as I was meditating the other day, so we have this mirror-like awareness, mirror-like quality that is aware. And then sort of what came to mind was that obviously this mirror-like clarity that is aware does not exist for its own sake. I mean, and immediately to mind, that came to mind, immediately came to mind, like, okay, this table does not exist for its own sake. It exists for the benefit of everything else in the room. That couch doesn't exist for its own sake. The car, the building, the planet, these things don't exist. These things don't arise for their own sake. They arise, as Christopher was just saying, as part of a system of causality that is meant, that only is meant to be interdependent. None of it would make sense. None of it would make any sense at all if you, yeah, I mean, this take me a few days to sort of continue to contemplate this, but without interdependence, what reason would there be for existence?
Right.
So I just wanted to mention that these threads of how the discussion of the nature of the mind and what is the mind, and then how that weaves into this. I mean, this is vital. They say that you have to work on both wings at the same time. I don't know.
No, you can go very, very, very deep with that thought. And that's, I mean, we can't really, it's very hard, difficult to put into words, but that is getting right at the core of what it is to have a direct realization of what we're all about. We're not about just a self here. Like you're saying, we are awareness. We're awareness, and it's a reflective kind of mirror-like awareness. And His Holiness says awareness always must have an object. It makes no sense.
The thing that
Awareness is aware of something. And so that something is the interconnected other thing.
Somehow, and I know you're covering this, and we over the course of all of our years of study, we will finally understand this, but somehow this external environment that we are so get so churned up about is part of this.
Mm.
We are here because we are here. We're aware of what we're aware of, and we need to own what's come into our awareness, and not be pointing the finger out there, as Lama Pasang used to always say, and other teachers, I've seen them say this. The things that I'm experiencing,
Yeah.
and that seem to be these external horrors. Well, my propensities got me here, and my propensities will get me and all sentient beings into a more favorable realm.
Yeah.
It's just up to us. Anyway,
it's very profound, and it's very difficult it requires, a lot of meditating, a lot of thinking, to really get to a point where the light goes on, and you go, oh wow, this is what this really is about. My projections here. What am I doing? So, but let's move on. That's a really good point. So quality 5 is peaceful sleep, peaceful mind. It's sort of like happy wife, happy life, peaceful sleep, happy mind.
I'm glad you like that one.
When we live ethically, our mind becomes naturally calm. We don't lie awake worrying that someone will discover our deceptions and secrets. We don't fear revenge for harmful actions that we've done. Our conscience becomes a friend rather than a critic. How often is our conscience a critic, right? So think about the difference between these two states of mind. One state of mind carries guilt, it carries resentment and jealousy. And the other state of mind carries kindness, generosity, and goodwill. No matter what. The second state creates immediate peace in our mind. Nagarjuna describes this beautifully. He says, you sleep happily, awaken happily, and even your dreams are peaceful. So he says, try the experiment for yourself. Spend a week intentionally practicing kindness and patience, and notice how your mind feels. Spend a week intentionally practicing kindness and patience. When that little part of you goes, because somebody did something and you don't like it, catch yourself and go, no, wait a minute. I'm just going to forget that. Just forget it. Just be patient, be kind, be understanding.
I don't see how we can change other than in those exact
Those
moments.
are the moments. That's why try it for a week. Try it every day.
If we don't have the buttons getting pushed, we can't change.
No.
And those are the moments when we change.
But so often we don't change. So often what we do is we dig in deeper and deeper and deeper into this. And we need to do the opposite. We need to use it to soften ourselves up.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't, I mean, I know it's just with myself. I'll just own this, is that if I don't feel uncomfortable shifting how I'm reacting, then, I mean, in other words, I know I'm making the correct decision to shift how I'm reacting if I don't like it. Let me put it that way. If I don't want to do it, I know it must be the right way to go.
No, it must be good. All right, now we go into 25, no more numbers, 25 special qualities of virtuous practice. Here's the next verse. Intent on serving your parents, respectful to the principles of your lineage, using your resources well, patient, generous, with kindly speech, without divisiveness, and truthful. Through performing such discipline for one lifetime, you will become a monarch of gods, whereupon even more so you will be a monarch of gods. Therefore, observe such practices. So, of course, he was talking to the king. Here's a modern rendering for us. Care for your parents. Respect your teachers and your elders. Use your resources ethically. Practice patience and generosity. Daily basis. Just make it a practice. Patience and generosity. Speak kindly. Avoid creating divisions. And always be truthful. And truthful doesn't mean give your opinion. Truthful, it has to do with the truth of the way things actually are. So when we speak understanding, oh, everything arises due to causes and conditions. So therefore, I'm not going to just blurt out something, an opinion I have that I think is right. If I think, why do I have that opinion before I blurt it out? Look at your own mind, in other words. When you're speaking truthful, don't just say what your feelings are. That's different than speaking the truth. It's different. All right, living this way throughout your life creates powerful positive karma. It leads to fortunate rebirths and even greater opportunities for spiritual growth. So Nagarjuna begins these 25 special qualities with a simple but powerful set of practices, and they're not mystical practices. They're just ordinary, practical ethics, basically. Serving your parents. Caring for our parents when they are old, sick, or vulnerable is considered deeply virtuous in Buddhist culture. And if we have the opportunity to do that, and I mean an opportunity, take it, because there's so much healing that can occur there and so much to learn by taking care of your parents. So much understanding of what they had to do for you, really. It includes helping your parents with their daily needs, offering emotional support, and wishing for their happiness. Even if we can't help physically, we can generate an attitude of gratitude towards them. Gratitude and kindness towards them. If it weren't for our parents, we wouldn't be here right now, and we wouldn't be on the Dharma path. It just wouldn't have happened. So even if your parents tortured you and put you in a closet, and you're here, and you're exposed to the Dharma, then be grateful that you made it, and that you wouldn't have done it without parents. It wouldn't have happened. So the next one is respecting teachers and elders. Spiritual teachers and mentors help guide us on the path. Respecting them doesn't mean blind devotion. It means appreciating the wisdom they share and engaging with that and with them with humility. So in modern terms, it's saying remain teachable. Don't think we have heard it all. Oh, I've heard that before. I'm not interested in that particular Dharma. I want to hear something different. Remain humble. Don't think because we don't. We really don't. The Dharma is so expansive, and everything connects to everything else. And sometimes the most simple teachings can be the most profound. So don't ever think that you've understood it and you don't need to hear that. if the teacher's repeating something. I think I said last time, you'll see when the Dalai Lama is giving teachings, these old monks who have heard these same teachings over and over again throughout their lives, they show up because they know there's something more there for them to learn. The next one is using resources wisely, and that is about right livelihood. It means earning and using money in ways that don't harm others. Avoiding exploitation, avoid dishonest work, using our resources to support positive activities. The next is patience and generosity. Patience protects us from anger. Patience protects us from anger. And generosity protects us from greed. So that's an interesting way to think of those. The patience is a protector for us. It protects us from getting angry. And generosity protects us from becoming greedy. So think of it as self-help, being patient and being generous. That will help a lot in the motivation initially. Once we actually take on board that they truly are interconnected and understand that, then it won't be so much of a problem for us. But just doing that, the patience and generosity will transform our relationships. It will transform them. The next is kind speech and truthfulness. And this is, as we know, words. Words have enormous power. Look how they're used, how the words are used now. Kind speech and truthfulness. Speech can either heal or harm. It can unite or it can divide. I mean, that speech is incredible, the way what can be done with it. Nagarjuna encourages us to speak in ways that are truthful. Again, it's not truthful, does not mean just blurting out whatever is in your mind or whatever you're feeling. Speaking truthful is aligning that with the nature of reality. To what understanding you have. When you speak, try to align it with the nature of reality, and the words that come out of your mouth will be words that are about connecting, and they won't be criticisms and putting down. If it's a criticism, say from a teacher who criticizes, it's because they can see what you're doing is not helping you, and they're pointing out. Now that's really different. When it's a Dharma teacher that you respect and trust, and they criticize you, then pay attention, listen carefully, and follow up on it. I remember once Geshe Drapa, this was years ago. I mean, this has to be, 2010, 11. He said in the class, how many people in this class are still drinking alcohol? So I raised my hand. And I could see the disappointment on his face. And he turned to Lama Pasang and was doing this to him. And I realized just by raising my hand and telling him that I still was drinking, it disturbed him. And from that day, that moment, I never had a drink again. And it's been, I don't know how many years. But that's the power of the teacher. The power of the teacher. And he didn't even directly criticize me. I could just see that what I had done disappointed him. And I just like, no problem. So it's pretty powerful having a teacher, a good teacher. Okay, let's move on. Again, this speech thing, it applies to emails, it applies to social media, it applies to online conversations. Because it's even worse online because it's all there. It's like, even if you delete it, somebody's got it somewhere. The NSA has it, Yeah, so we should really be careful what we say, what we put down in print. Here are the next verses. Even 3 times a day to offer 300 cooking pots of food does not match a portion of the merit in 1 instant of love. Through love, you are not liberated. Though through love you are not liberated, you will attain the 8 good qualities of love. Gods and humans will be friendly. Even non-humans will protect you. You will have mental pleasures and many physical pleasures. Poison and weapons will not harm you. Without striving, you will attain your aims and be reborn in the world of Brahma. So here's a modern rendering of that. Feeding hundreds of people daily creates great merit, but even that cannot equal a single moment of genuine, boundless love. Love brings powerful benefits. Others feel naturally drawn to you. Your mind becomes peaceful. Dangers diminish, and your goals unfold more easily. In future lives, this loving mind leads to fortunate rebirths and continued spiritual progress. So this is not romantic love we're talking about. Romantic love is about attachment and getting what I want, getting what I need. I'll give you what you want and need. You give me what I want and need. That's romantic love. We're talking about this boundless love for all beings. Boundless love, no matter who. Recognizing how we are interconnected. And that's huge. One moment, one instant of that is the greatest thing ever, really. So here's now we're talking about the immense power of loving kindness. Love generates immeasurable merit. Material generosity is wonderful, but it has limits. The number of recipients of meals and the number of meals is finite. But when we meditate on love for all sentient beings, the mind expands beyond limits. Now remember what the definition of love is in Buddhism, is may you be happy. May you be happy. Whoever you are, may you be happy. And may you have the causes for that. That's love. And this creates vast positive potential. When we actually begin to think along those lines, and the way we do that is through the practices, through the meditation practices, the six perfections, Tonglen, giving and receiving. Those kinds of practices will eventually, over time, get us to a more altruistic state of mind. And when we have that, there are 8 benefits that arise from that. People will naturally feel comfortable around you. Even unseen forces will become protective rather than harmful. Your own mind becomes peaceful. Your physical well-being will improve. Harmful substances lose their power over you. Either it's because you don't take them anymore, like I stop drinking, or they're just really not going to hurt you. I don't know which. Violence is less likely to affect you. So you could be in a huge scene where all these terrible things are happening, but somehow it's not happening to you, the violence. Your aims unfold more easily, and you will experience fortunate rebirth. Even if we haven't realized full awakening, cultivating love profoundly will transform our lives. This kind of boundless love. May you be happy. May all beings have happiness. That kind of thing. It's like, in modern terms, they say it's like rewiring the emotional operating system of the mind. Rewiring the emotional operating system of our mind. When we think about love all that time, this boundless love, it's the opposite of much of what we've been doing since beginningless time as grasping egos. So it's a real shift. It's a big, big, big shift. And we're in the middle of trying to do that right now. So it's a wonderful time that all of us here gathered together here are aware of, and we can actually practice this. It's amazing. All right, here's the next verse. If you cause sentient beings to generate the altruistic aspiration to enlightenment and make it firm, you will always attain an altruistic aspiration to enlightenment, firm like the monarch of mountains. Some modern terms, when you inspire others to awaken compassion and the wish for enlightenment, that same powerful aspiration becomes deeply rooted in your own heart. It becomes stable and unshakable like a great mountain. So this is about helping others awaken compassion. Few practices generate more merit than bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is the wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit and happiness of all beings. We strengthen this aspiration by generating it ourselves. First of all, we have to generate it ourselves. Otherwise, this will be meaningless to us. Then what we want to do is to encourage others to cultivate that. Helping people maintain it, help them maintain it when they become discouraged. I don't know, I can't, this whole thing, the world is a mess. How can I want to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all these losers? And then try to turn that around. Either encourage yourself or encourage somebody who's feeling that way. Encourage them to change, to have a different view. And then teach the methods that help to develop bodhicitta. And these methods are, Geshe Nima gave them, and it's in the, I put together a little booklet of his practices. I'll probably include it, all the different practices, but they are the 7-point cause and effect, which is, it starts out with seeing all beings as having been your mother, generating kindness towards all of them and generating gratitude. And there are 7 points. And the other one is, the other big one is Tonglen, taking and giving. So you take on all other beings' suffering and you destroy, when you take that in, it's like black smoke and you destroy your own self-grasping at your heart. You just destroy it by taking that, and then you give them all your good qualities. So that sort of, it connects you with others in a way that's very, very, very personal and has a lot of meaning. And the more you practice it on a regular basis, the deeper it gets. And if you're not practicing that in particular, I would suggest doing that. And look at the way that Geshe Nima explained it. Even simply discussing compassion with someone or sharing a teaching can help to awaken bodhicitta. Over time, this creates the cause for our own bodhicitta to become as stable as Mount Everest. Here's the next verse. Through faith, you will not be without leisure. Through good ethics, you will move in good transmigrations. Through becoming familiar with emptiness, you will attain detachment from all phenomena. Faith protects you from unfortunate rebirths. Ethical conduct leads to fortunate rebirths. And deep familiarity with emptiness gradually frees the mind from clinging and suffering. So it's the emptiness, the understanding, the nature of reality is what's going to gradually free us from clinging and suffering. So this is about faith and ethics and wisdom. These 3 practices correspond to 3 key pillars in the path. Faith in the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. It protects us from 8 unfavorable states where spiritual practice is nearly impossible. Ethical conduct, especially avoiding the 10 non-virtuous actions, creates the principal cause for fortunate rebirths. So ethical conduct is the principal cause for having a good rebirth that we can continue to practice and study. Wisdom realizing emptiness gradually destroys ignorance, our total misunderstanding and confusion about how we exist and why we exist. And that gradually destroys ignorance, which is the root of suffering. All the suffering that we see is due to ignorance of the way things actually exist, according to Buddhism. When ignorance dissolves, all the afflictions that it supports, the craving, the jealousy, the attachment, the anger, the guilt, the hatred, all of those afflictions it supports, they fade away. When ignorance dissolves, those all fade away. So this should inspire us, if nothing else, to continue on this quest to have this realization of what the actual nature of reality is. Obviously, it's difficult for us because they say we're so trapped in the wrong view that we can't, unless it's pointed out to us by the teachers, and then we practice becoming aware of what that is, it's just not going to happen. We're so habituated to me and mine and the grasping at me and mine and all the afflictive emotions that arise because of that and the state of the world that arises because of that. So it's not easy. Of course it's not easy, but it's worth it. It's what we actually must do if we want to be happy. All right, now cultivating wisdom, compassion, and extraordinary capacity. As Nagarjuna continues describing these 25 special qualities, the practices become increasingly subtle. Earlier verses focused on ethical conduct, generosity, love. Now he explains how those foundations gradually develop into deep wisdom, powerful compassion, and extraordinary abilities that we can benefit others with. These verses reveal something inspiring, and that is that nothing on the path is wasted. Nothing we do on this path is wasted. Every sincere action, studying the Dharma or speaking kindly, offering light, helping someone travel, sharing knowledge, everything creates causes that mature into greater wisdom and greater ability to help the world. So here's the next verse. Through not wavering, you will attain mindfulness. Through thinking, you will attain intelligence. Through respect, you will be endowed with realization of meaning. Through guarding the doctrine, you will become wise. Here's the modern rendering. When your commitment to the path is steady, your mindfulness grows strong. By reflecting deeply on the teachings, your understanding becomes sharper. Through respect for teachers and teachings, genuine insight arises. And by protecting and preserving the Dharma, your wisdom continues to grow. So this is about stability, reflection, respect, and protecting the Dharma. So Nagarjuna highlights 4 qualities that strengthen wisdom. Here's the first one. Steadiness creates mindfulness. Steadiness creates mindfulness. The Sanskrit word smriti can mean both mindfulness and memory. In the Buddhist path, mindfulness isn't just noticing things moment to moment. It also means keeping the virtues and the teachings firmly in mind. It's not just watching your mind, in other words, but it's also having firmly in your mind what these teachings are, what virtue is. When we don't waver in our commitment to ethical conduct and practice, mindfulness will become stronger and clearer. Over time, this steadiness creates a mind that is naturally focused. We don't have to try so hard to focus. It's naturally focused. It's not scattered. And that mind then is capable of remembering the teachings easily. You might think of it like building mental fitness. Just as regular exercise strengthens the body, we'll see it over time. It's getting better. Yeah, I'm getting better. I'm stronger, I'm leaner. You notice it over time. Well, it's the same here. It doesn't happen going to one teaching. So often what happens is, people will come, they're interested, they think, oh, Buddhism, monks, they levitate. It must be great. I'm going to go. And they come and then they hear something like this and they go, this isn't what I was looking for. Boom. And they're out and they never come back because they're looking for the thing that's going to, they can grab onto and it's going to feed their attachment. That's not what this is. This is about total transformation. Total transformation about how we see ourselves, how we see others, how we see the world. And so it's not just an easy come in, sit at a class, and then go on to the next thing. That's not what the Buddhist path is. Reflection will develop intelligence. Listening to teachings is important, but Nagarjuna emphasizes thinking deeply about them. Don't just listen to them, reflect on them, think about them. In Buddhism, this stage is called analytical reflection. It's so, so important. We examine the teachings with reason. In other words, our own logic. We examine them. We ask questions. We don't just take it for granted, blind faith. We ask questions. And we connect them then to our own experience. Does this relate to my experience? Is this affecting me? Is this changing me? You have to do that. You have to make it very, very personal. That's analytical reflection. So if we're reflecting on interdependence, we could examine how everything in our lives, from our food to technology to friendships to our thoughts, depends on countless conditions. It's not just coming out of us, independently at all. Once we recognize that, then we can really start taking the reins of our mind and do something with it. So respect opens the door to having realization. Respect for teachers and teachings creates a receptive mind. And think about it. If we do not have respect for the teacher, or we don't have respect for what's being taught, we do not have a receptive mind. We have a mind that has put up a block. And it just, the teachings will just fall flat. You won't receive them. Respect here doesn't mean blind belief. Instead, it means approaching the teachings with appreciation, with humility. It's a big one. And curiosity. When we listen carefully and we examine what we hear and we test it through our practice, the meaning of the Dharma begins to reveal itself to us from within. It reveals itself to us from within, not from the teacher telling us. When the teacher tells us, that's not an aha moment. It's when we actually are reflecting on these teachings deeply, seeing the logic of them, if there is logic in them, you're questioning, applying it to your own life, your own particular set of circumstances. And then you will then have a realization that arises from within, and you'll go, oh yeah, this is right. This is making sense. And that then encourages you to continue on that path. That's what actually gives you the faith. It's not blind faith. It's practicing what you've been taught, internalizing it, making it, connecting it to who you are, and then seeing for yourself, does this work or doesn't it? And if it does, then you develop confidence in it. So eventually, we don't just know the teachings, we actually experience the teachings. Guarding the doctrine preserves wisdom. Guarding the Dharma means helping ensure that teachings continue to benefit others. And this includes things like studying the teachings carefully, sharing the teachings responsibly, supporting Dharma communities, and practicing what we learn. Those are so important. Dharma is preserved in the Buddhist tradition. It's preserved in two ways. We have the transmitted Dharma. These are the teachings preserved through study, reading, and listening. And then there is the realized Dharma. That's the living experience of meditation and the wisdom derived from that meditation. So that's realized Dharma. So there are two ways that the Dharma is preserved. Transmitted Dharma and realized Dharma. Here's the next verse. When you make the Dharma accessible, supporting both its study and its teaching, you create the causes to meet great teachers and quickly accomplish meaningful spiritual goals. One of the obstacles to Dharma flourishing is being stingy with our knowledge. Sometimes people hesitate to share what they know. This can come from jealousy, insecurity, or a fear of losing status. And we're not just talking. This goes on in the monasteries. The monks would talk about this. You know, they can get too. Any of us can get too hooked into, because this is what ego does. It wants the status. It wants to be the one who knows. And the whole point is to not be stingy with this Dharma. Share it freely. But the Dharma grows stronger when it's shared generously. This doesn't mean teaching everything indiscriminately. Wisdom includes knowing when and how teachings are appropriate. Certain teachings given to a student too soon, when they're not ready to hear them, are going to be misunderstood or not understood at all.
That's why they still won't tell us about the space aliens.
Well,
I wish they just would get.
They just don't call them space aliens, but look at some of these tangas. What are they?
Well, that's true. You got a good point there.
They're not necessarily humans, okay? They're light beings. They're a different kind of being. All right, removing obstacles to the Dharma. When sincere students are ready to learn, sharing the Dharma openly benefits everyone. When people help make teachings accessible by teaching, by supporting Dharma centers, by translating texts, by organizing events, or simply encouraging others, they create powerful karmic connections. In future lives, such practitioners meet excellent teachers and supportive spiritual friends. So in other words, it's logical. If we are supportive now, if we honor our teachers now, honor the teachings now, well, then that's generating the causes for that to continue. If we reject it, that's going to generate the causes for rejecting it. It's kind of simple. Here's the next verse. Through non-attachment, you will achieve the meaning of doctrines. Through not being miserly, your resources will increase. Through not being proud, you will become chief of those respected. Through enduring the doctrine, you will attain retention. This is enduring the doctrine, you will attain retention. Here's a modern rendering. Letting go of attachment helps you understand the deeper meaning of the teaching. Letting go of attachment helps you understand the deeper meaning of the teachings. Generosity brings abundance. Cause and effect. Generosity, effects similar to the cause. It brings abundance. Humility earns genuine respect. Not fear, but genuine respect, humility. And perseverance in studying the Dharma strengthens your ability to remember and apply it. Persevering in studying the Dharma strengthens our ability to remember it and to apply it. So there are 4 attitudes that we can have that will strengthen us on the path. Non-attachment. Non-attachment deepens understanding. So attachment clouds up our clarity, our clear thinking. When we are clinging strongly to anything, to possessions or to reputation or to pleasure, our mind becomes distracted and our mind becomes restless. We want to go to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. Attachment is not a focused state of mind. It is one that's jumping all over the place and trying to get what it wants. Practitioners gradually weaken attachment by reflecting on impermanence and the limits of worldly satisfaction. There's only so many good meals you can eat, and so many great trips you can take, and so many wonderful clothes you can wear, and on and on and on and on and on. And in the end, unexpectedly, we're gone. And what has all that attachment done for us? It's just generated the causes for more clinging, more attachment. We haven't done a thing to get ourselves out of this situation. So we have to think about that pretty carefully. Eventually, especially on the bodhisattva path, attachment to self-centered thinking itself is the thing that is reduced through cultivating compassion. So the main attachment, the granddaddy of them all, is this attachment to self-centered thinking. What do I want? What do I need? That's the thing that's running the show in samsara. And this is the thing that we have to release ourselves from. Here's the next. Generosity creates prosperity. Nagarjuna explains that wealth arises not from hoarding, but from generosity. When people give freely and they give without being miserly, they create karmic causes for abundance. This principle is echoed across cultures. Generosity tends to create networks of trust, cooperation, and goodwill. Here's the next one. Humility. Humility attracts respect. Humility attracts respect. Pride blocks learning. If we're proud, if we think we already know, if we think we know better, that is going to block our ability to learn, and it's going to block. People will not have respect for us. Pride will not give us respect. It's the humility that will. When we believe we already know everything, our growth stops. Humility, on the other hand, invites connection and it invites wisdom. People naturally feel comfortable around someone who is confident but not arrogant. Confident but not arrogant. All right, here's an interesting one. Enduring the doctrine strengthens realization. And I couldn't figure out what does that mean. Enduring the doctrine. Understanding emptiness can be really, really challenging. Some people misunderstand it and that they assume that it means nothing exists. That's very common at first. Emptiness, just, it's all empty, it doesn't matter. It's all an illusion, it doesn't matter. And so then we just go on with our lives because it doesn't matter, right? And that's not at all what emptiness is talking about. Nagarjuna's middle way explains that phenomena are empty of inherent existence, yet they fully function through dependent arising. Persevering with this subtle teaching develops deep wisdom and strong retention of the Dharma. So persevering with this means persevering with this idea that everything on every level that we can imagine codependently arises and is a non-dual appearance. That all sounds like gobbledygook, but you have to analyze it and we've talked a lot about it, I'm not going to do it today, but you really have to analyze those conceptually before we can actually get to a realization of that. We have to have a conception in our mind of what's being talked about with this doctrine of emptiness and non-duality. Here's the next verse. Through giving the 5 essentials as well as non-fright to the frightened, you will not be harmed by any demons and will become the best of the mighty. Modern rendering of that. By offering essential nourishment and protecting those who are afraid, you cultivate great courage and freedom from fear. So this is about generosity and protection. The 5 essentials, quote 5 essentials, they traditionally refer to basic nourishing substances such as molasses, butter, honey, salt, and sesame. There are 5 actual substances that they were talking about in these commentaries, or the first. Alongside this, Nagarjuna emphasizes giving fearlessness, protecting those in danger and helping those who feel vulnerable. When people actively care for others' safety and others' well-being, they create the karmic causes for fearlessness, for protection, and for strength. So if we want to be fearless, if we want to be protected, if we want to be strong, help those who aren't strong, help those who are afraid, and we will gain fearlessness through that. Here's the next verse. I don't know how far we'll get. This was a lot, by the way. Here's the next verse. Through offering series of lamps at monuments, and through offering lamps in dark places, as well as the oil for them, you will attain the divine eye. Now we're getting into some interesting territory here. Here's a modern rendering. By offering light, whether at sacred places or in dark spaces where people need it, you create the causes for profound vision and insight. Offering light. Offering light. Light is a powerful Buddhist symbol. We're not just talking about lights and candles and lamps. You know, when they're saying, imagine the Buddha in front of you and is emanating light in all directions. Well, we're talking about a kind of energy, a very, very positive energy that illuminates us and illuminates others. Light represents wisdom dispelling ignorance. And this can take many forms. So when we're offering, either the butter lamps or the candles, this is what we should be thinking. We're not thinking just, oh, well, here's a pretty candle I'm offering. No, we're talking about that. It's wisdom dispelling ignorance. This light has to do. Think of the when they say, imagine the Buddha and rays of light coming out of the Buddha and to all sentient beings, illuminating us. So when we're making offerings of candles, think of that. That's the symbolism there, illuminating all sentient beings to what's actually going on. So such actions help symbolize helping others see clearly, both physically and spiritually. Here's the next verse. Through offering musical instruments and bells for the worship of monuments, and through offering drums and trumpets, you will attain the divine ear. By offering music in honor of the sacred, you create the causes for deep sensitivity to sound and truth. So this is about sound as devotion. Music has long been used in spiritual traditions to express devotion and joy. Offering sound, bells, drums, chanting, playing the guitar, symbolizes the wish that the teachings of awakening resonate throughout the world. That's very powerful. When you think of it that way, not just as some, oh yeah, I'm ringing a bell here because that's what they do. No, it's you're sending this resounding truth throughout the world. That's the way to think of it. Sound as devotion. This practice creates the causes for refined perception and receptivity to teachings. Very interesting. Here's the next verse. Through not mentioning others' mistakes and not talking of others' defective limbs, but protecting their minds, you will attain knowledge of others' minds. In other words, you will know. You will have, what do they call it? Clairaudience. You will know what other people are thinking, but only if you're no longer criticizing them. When you avoid criticizing others and protect their dignity, you develop deep understanding of their thoughts and feelings. So one of the things that's said in this commentary is like very often, some people will see someone with a very gross deformity, and they'll go, "Oh, look at that!" Right? And they're saying, "No. You look totally past that. That is not what we should be doing. That is a form of criticism that we just need to stop. We do not attack others for how they look, how they speak, even what they say. We just don't do it. We don't criticize, we don't attack. We recognize we're all in this boat together. And the point is to be of benefit. So stop with the criticism. Unless you're a high teacher with students and you know exactly the kind of criticism that's going to help them, that's different. But just on a regular basis, don't even do it. Don't even do it. Don't even do it just casually, talking with others, criticizing somebody else that's not even there. Don't do it. It poisons your own mind. So this is about protecting the minds. Gossip and harsh criticism easily harm relationships. Nagarjuna encourages us to protect others' minds by speaking kindly and respectfully. When we interact this way, we become more sensitive to others' emotional stress and states. This sensitivity eventually matures into the ability to understand what people truly need. See, when we're kind of talking in this gossipy way about I heard this and that, and oh yeah, I saw this on TV, and this is what the news said. And we're all talking about things that are, and they're very easily we can criticize others because it's our ego, and we can say what's right and wrong, and everybody's involved in that. Oh yeah, criticizing the other guy. Well, what we're doing is we are blocking our minds from being able to truly actually connect with others. So because when we're talking like that in this, they call it idle chatter. That's exactly what it is. We are not actually communicating truly and connecting with others. We're just blah, 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 and criticizing others as we go. That is destructive to us, and it's destructive to others. So we should just stop it. If we find ourselves in that situation, then just keep the mouth shut. Don't engage in it, or even you can go, oh, sorry, I have to go. I have something I have to do. Don't engage in it. Stop it. Verse 295. Through giving shoes and conveyances, or means of travel, through giving shoes and conveyances, through serving the feeble, and through providing teachers with transport, you will attain the skill to create magical emanations. And that's a big one, providing teachers with transport. I can't tell you how much we've done that.
I've done that a lot. I still.
You don't have magical emanations yet? I don't know, Kavita. I think maybe you do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, now. Let's just leave that right there.
I'd like to hear about that.
Okay.
Are you talking about auditory magical emanation?
All kinds of magical emanations. Okay.
Okay, well, we won't talk about that right now.
Helping others travel safely, supporting the weak, and assisting teachers creates the causes for extraordinary abilities to help beings in many places. Okay. So this is about supporting the journey. Helping people travel, whether physically or spiritually, is deeply meaningful. In ancient times, this meant giving shoes, animals, or carts. Today, it might mean driving a teacher to a teaching, arranging travel for your teacher, or a Dharma event, helping someone attend a retreat. It's stuff like that. We just help. We help to do these things, especially when it involves the teachers. You really just, and many of us know this. I know Brian knows this, Kavita knows this, I know this. You just do whatever it takes to help them because they need it. They need that assistance. They have much better things to do than to try and figure out their plane tickets, right? Or how to drive to Houston. So these acts symbolically support us in the journey toward awakening. So think of it that when it's a journey toward awakening when you're driving your teacher somewhere or helping your teacher, get their airline or their passports or their visas. It's a journey toward awakening.
It's funny, this is getting into petty talk, but we have this car that is a 2005, so it's 20 years old now, CRV.
Mm-hmm.
That we bought because we had to go pick up a monk from Houston. And because of the reason we bought that car, I'm really still quite attached to it.
There's a special thing about that car.
We've had a few, it's been through a lot, but Don loves it because it starts every day. It must have created its own good karma for all the travels that we did back in.
That's it.
So there's more, and I will just finish it up. It's not that much more, but we're run out of time, really. Well, no, I'll just keep going a little bit more. All right, the next verse. Through acting for the doctrine, remembering books of doctrine and their meaning, and through stainless giving of the doctrine, you will attain memory of your continuum of lives.
Say that again. What have I got to do?
I'm going to read the modern.
Maybe we don't want to remember.
I just-
I'm going to read the modern rendering, okay?
Okay.
By studying, remembering, and sharing the teachings. So you don't want to do that? It's by studying, remembering, and sharing the teachings with pure motivation, you develop profound clarity and continuity of wisdom. And that we'll just leave it there. So this is about teaching with pure motivation. Sharing the Dharma should be done with a pure wish to benefit others, not for status, not for money, not for praise. When teachings are offered sincerely, they create deep karmic connections that strengthen understanding across lifetimes. Where are we now? Well, still more. I can do it some more. Next verse. Through knowing thoroughly, correctly, and truly that all phenomena lack inherent existence, you will attain the sixth clairvoyance. Sounds like a movie. The excellent extinction of all contamination. Here's a modern rendering. When you deeply realize that all phenomena lack inherent existence, ignorance dissolves and liberation becomes possible. And that's liberation from suffering. When you realize, you have a direct experiential realization that all phenomena lack inherent existence.
Okay, I want to go straight to the dedication.
Okay. Then when you do that, ignorance dissolves and liberation becomes possible. So we're going to dedication.
All phenomena, including ourselves, lack inherent existence. And as we have directly and indirectly been taught, what are we but consciousness? Now, I'm pasting in the chat right now the mantra sheet from Geshe Nima's visit last year. For this reason, we are dependently arising phenomena, and as we get into more of sort of, I'm going to say, a sort of scientific-ish way of discussing the nature of our existence, is as a, we talked about biophotons, and we haven't talked as much about the corollary on the auditory spectrum, where sound and vibration. And when we talk about the winds, I mean, there's so much there, but the Geshe Nima last year in this mantra sheet, he gave us a direct method to daily condition our vibratory array to the qualities that we hope to embody. So the mantra sheets that he gave us are a direct, think of it as, I'm thinking of it, and I share this as just like I take my vitamins every day and I try to eat nutritious food to improve the denser matter that we call the body, I also am daily ingesting and using this sound method that Geshe Nima gave us to influence directly my vibratory body. These, and I'll just say briefly, with each of these characters, each of these mantras are said to be the vibratory corollary to the to a particular quality, as represented by, for example, medicine Buddha, or the Buddha of compassion, and so forth. So as we recite these mantras, as Geshe Nima instructed, to think of that deity and everything that they embody as our, as our guru, and this piled up of entities streaming into us with this quality, we are directly conditioning our consciousness to reflect the quality that that quality. And so he gave us this prescription of sound medicine meant to directly affect our consciousness. And this came up to share today because if you do not have a strong daily practice or are wondering what you can do in the face of what chaos you may be experiencing in your perception of the world and environment, well, here is a direct medicine. This is your daily sound vitamins that has meant formulated for nothing more than to transform you through sound vibration into the qualities that each of these deities represent. And we're meant to do it every day, and we're meant to apply it as our method, one of our methods. And I know we're all wanting to rely on the teachers and the teachings, and when they talk about the foundation of all good qualities is to rely on the guru. Well, the way you rely on the guru is to apply and do the teachings that they've been given, that you've been given by them. And since it's just now been a little over a year that Geshe Nima shared this with us, if you had lost track of that or are currently seeking ways to feel that you want to directly influence the environment, there really is no better way. It's one of the many ways, but there's no better way.
Works. They work wonderfully.
Okay, so with that said, thinking about everything that Christopher shared with us and our sincere wish to embody the teachings, share the teachings, and live the teachings, especially when we're triggered, because that's when we practice. We practice when we're triggered. The 6 perfections: generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, wisdom. You know you're doing something right when you're triggered and you remember the 6 perfections. We'll just say the final dedication. In all my lives, may I not be separated from true lamas, and so enjoy the splendor of Dharma, fully perfecting the virtues of levels and paths. May I speedily attain the state of Vajradhara. And that's the second to the last of those mantras. If you want to quickly attain the state of Vajradhara,
Yeah, Vajradhara.
Okay, right there.
Okay.
In that mantra sheet.
Thank you, everybody. And we can get through the last few verses next time.
Thank you, Christopher. You guys, Christopher, each week Christopher gives up many, many hours of fun and sleep for the benefit.
I wouldn't say that.
No,
I
and
just
so
love the Dharma
we're
stuff.
gonna have to have a party for him sometime this.
How about when we're done with we're not far from being done with Precious
Yeah,
Garland.
we'll have a party.
We'll have a Precious Garland party. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Thank you, Grace Covida.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.